All right.
Mr. President, that Judge Huey is going to swear Peter in his position as President of City Council.
Very good. All right, if you'll raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Peter M. Wright,
I, Peter M. Wright,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
and the Constitution of the State of Alabama,
so long as I continue
so long as I continue
to be a citizen thereof,
to be a citizen thereof,
and that I will faithfully and honestly
and that I will faithfully and honestly
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
of President of Homewood City Council
of President of Homewood City Council
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Okay, enough of that. I will add some further explanation to that in just a moment, but before I do, Brian, I guess you can go ahead and start the council, and we'll begin with some proclamations after that. Welcome to tonight's Homewood City Council meeting on October 7th, 2019. We're going to begin tonight with a couple of proclamations before we get into our meeting. We'll begin with two of them. First, we have tonight a presentation for a proclamation for the American Pharmacists Association. And Mr. Mayor, if you have that, and if members of the American Pharmacists Association who are here tonight, who I can see several of you with your white jackets, y'all can please come forward and the mayor can handle the proclamation. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mr. President. Is it Brian?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Brian, thank y'all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Y'all come around the side. Now, we want to be nice to these folks. One day we're going to be standing in line. The older I get, the more frequent it becomes. So, and they're all in school at Samford, the McWhorter School. So we have a proclamation tonight declaring October as American Pharmacy Month. Whereas pharmacy is one of the oldest of the health professionals concerned with the health and well-being of all people, and whereas today there are over 254,000 pharmacists licensed in the United States providing services to assure the rational and safe use of all medications, and whereas the use of medication as a cost-effective alternative to more expensive medical procedures is becoming a major force in moderating overall health costs, and whereas today's powerful medications require greater attention to the manner in which they are used by different patient population groups, both clinically and demographically, and whereas it is important that all users of prescription and non-prescription medications or their caregivers be knowledgeable about and share responsibility for their own drug therapy, and whereas pharmacists are specifically educated with a focus and level of expertise on medication therapy that exceeds that of other healthcare providers, are ideally suited to work collaboratively with other healthcare providers and patients to improve medications use and outcomes by providing services through medication therapy management. And whereas pharmacists provide both expertise and accessibility, which are crucial to patients, fully optimizing access to medications that are not self-administered, such as, but not limited to, immunizations. And whereas pharmacists are best positioned to be the healthcare professionals to help ensure patients are adherent to their medications and provide patient care that ensures optimal medication therapy outcomes. And whereas the American Pharmacists Association and the Samford University McWhorter School of Pharmacy have declared October as American Pharmacist Month with the theme Pharmacists, Easy to Reach, Ready to Help. Now therefore I, Scott McBrayer, Mayor of the City of Homewood, hereby proclaim October as American Pharmacist Month in the City of Homewood and urge all citizens to acknowledge the valuable services of pharmacists to provide safe, affordable, and beneficial pharmaceutical care services and products to all citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all very much for all you do. Thank you. Brian, give that to you. Y'all can give them a hand. Good. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Do you believe in love? Is that what it is?
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you all. We're going to actually have a couple of other proclamations. Next one, we have a presentation tonight for proclamation for the Family Day, Family Week to American Family Rights Association. Do we have anyone here on that tonight? Okay, great. Please come forward and we'll handle that proclamation next. Thank you, sir.
Okay, do you mind stating your name for the record? I think I emailed you, but.
Kenneth Pascal.
Okay, thank you. I'm Melody Salter.
Kenneth, welcome.
Good to see you again, man.
Thank you. Good. All right, so we have another proclamation. Thank you for being here, and this one is for Family Day and Family Week here in the City of Homewood. Whereas children are our future and society's greatest asset, and committed families shape and guide children by preparing them for obstacles and encouraging them to overcome life's demanding challenges. And whereas children who spend significant time with both parents show lower risk of suicide, dropout, teen pregnancy, incarceration, and drug abuse. However, the importance of children having two parents is diminishing in society as approximately 40,000 Alabama children a year experience court-ordered visitation with one parent for only 2 to 6 days a month. And whereas children of concerned and active parents are far less likely to exhibit risky and unhealthy behaviors such as smoking, drinking, or using illegal drugs because of the valuable time spent with parents and the positive examples set by parents, and social scientists agree that shared parenting should be the norm for children of all ages. Whereas simple daily activities like sharing a meal, a conversation, or a book can have an enormous impact on the life of a child. Strong and engaged families help build a strong Alabama, and it's our responsibility as concerned family members to help create a solid foundation for the future health and happiness of all Alabama's children. And whereas Family Day in Alabama has grown to promote the importance of family interaction and connecting with kids throughout the day and week, and to stress that children need both parents, and during Family Day and Week, we honor the devotion of parents and recognize their critical role in teaching children positive and healthy behaviors. Whereas we encourage all Alabamans to visit casafamilyday.org for information on talking with children about the perils of drug use, and we call on community and state leaders to support shared parenting because of its benefit for children. So now, therefore, I, Scott McBrayer, Mayor of the City of Homewood, hereby proclaim September 30, 2019 as Family Day and the week of September 29th through October 5th, 2019 as Family Week in the City of Homewood, and encourage all our citizens to join together in observing this day and week by spending time with their families and by engaging in appropriate ceremonies and activities to honor and strengthen both our cities and states' families. Thank you again for being here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, check it and make sure. We've learned the hard way.
Oh, that's good.
Can you make- Thank you.
But
Do
thank
you want
you.
to say anything?
What? Mayor, City Council, thanks for acknowledging the importance of family. I had the opportunity to do something very special for 21 and a half years. That was serve our country in the United States Army, and took a similar oath as the president there, to defend and protect what's important to us, which is our country. And my mission now is family. My goal is to promote and emphasize the importance of protecting the foundational principles of any civilized community or nation, that is the family. So I know I'm a week late here, so I do apologize for not making it to the council last week. But they want to take the time to say thanks to the mayor, the city council. And next year I'll be a little more proactive. We invite the citizens to be a part of this special event, because we're asking citizens to just sit at the table, put the cell phones down, and have a conversation as a family. And the research shows kids thrive when we do that. So thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Pastor. Thank you. All right, before we get to our last proclamation, I'm going to go ahead and call tonight's meeting to the order, because we're going to need to take some action on it. So I'm going to go and call tonight's meeting to order, and we'll begin tonight with invocation.
I forgot to tell you, but I'll do it unless anybody else wants to
Okay.
volunteer.
And please
Dr.
pray.
Jones, if you want to
please-
jump ahead, feel free. If not, I'll do it. You'll do it?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank
If
you.
not,
We'll
I'll-
we'll
if
begin
not,
with
I'll do it.
proclamation, followed by the pledge.
Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to come together as a city. We pray for the guidance, and you provide that for Mr. Wright as he takes on the council presidency. We want to all support him and everything that he has done. We thank you for Mr. Limbaugh's service to the city, and we thank you for all the employees that service our citizens every day, help them out, and work for one common goal. That is to make the city of Homewood the best city in the state. We thank all of this in Christ's name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, so we have one more proclamation, a presentation to Red Mountain Park. And I don't-
President Wright, do you want to go ahead and do roll call, since we're going to have to vote on that one?
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Let's go and do the roll call first, thank you.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Waltney? Here. Mr. Thames? Here. Mr. Higginbotham? Here. Mr. Wolverton? Here. Mr. McCluskey? Here. Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Wyatt?
Here.
Mrs. Andress?
Here.
And President Wright.
Thank you, here. All right, so the next, we'll have a presentation to Red Mountain Park, and what we'll do, we'll go ahead and make the presentation first, and then we'll follow up with some council action afterwards, if that's okay. Okay, Mayor, yes, Mr. Mayor. If anyone from Red Mountain Park here?
So thank you very much to the council. Of course, this is a budgeted item, and Red Mountain Park is becoming a really valuable part of our community. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but Homewood may be the city that uses it the most, other than Birmingham.
Y'all boast the single largest usage by zip code, period. So
Okay.
35209 is our highest user group, period.
Nice.
The city of Birmingham's large in population, so more folks from Birmingham come to the park. But
Right.
as far as narrowing down to where our visitors frequent from the most, it's right here.
Well, perfect. And I've asked Jennifer to come up here as well, because she's been such a huge part of this, and has been very active and involved in Red Mountain Park. So I would have given you 30,000 if you hadn't been so tall. And I'm surprised we don't have one of the big checks to present, but we do have, this one cashes a lot better. So on
promise
behalf
it's
of the
good.
city of Homewood, we just want to offer this check for $25,000 to Red Mountain Park, and thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. Jennifer, do you have anything you want to say? Thank you. Pretty good to see you. Thank you.
I do want to say that, that Homewood has stepped up in a gigantic way, and second to the city of Birmingham, you've done far more than any other municipality, and this is a treasure that our community has. The history out there is just amazing. Barry very wonderfully did an article or featured us in Portico magazine last month, and I urge everyone to go out there if you haven't been out there, of course, and if you haven't been out there lately, go out and see the new North Trailhead. I want to introduce Peter Alsup. Peter and I are on the commission that manages the park, and Peter, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Just want to say thank you as a Homewood resident as well. And we have a lot of big changes that are going on at the park that will make it a much better experience for Homewood residents and beyond. And this is a big help in making that happen. It's a real change from the way we've operated to actually have support from government. And it's an important big step. And thank you for raising the bar. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Melody or somebody, y'all want to get a picture with them so they'll...
I said I was told to get a picture before I left the office. I said,
My
"Jen-
photo
Jen will
skills
get
aren't nearly as good as my photo skills, okay? But I'll do my best I can.
Look, I'm going to do this too.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Thanks, Melody, I appreciate it. I'll send it to you. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all, and thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Jennifer. And to make this effective, we're going to bring up out of order an item 141019.
You'll have to vote for it now that we've given the check.
Correct, yes. And so we could have done it in reverse.
My
but I wanted to
OCD
get you
really wanted
guys-
him to vote first, but
which is a request to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Red Mountain Park and to fund their fiscal year 1990, 1920, their 2019, 2020 budget appropriation in the city budget, coming to us from Councilor Andrus and our city clerk. And I will entertain a motion to authorize the mayor to sign that contract.
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Higginbotham, second by Ms. Andrus. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And so that passes 10-0. And Mike, that will be resolution 19-168. Gotcha. Okay, back to beginning of the agenda. We are going to actually carry over the minutes from September 23rd, 2019. We think we need to resend those out. We may have sent out the wrong minutes, so we're going to carry over minutes approval, and we'll approve perhaps double minutes next time. Now, as to me sitting here this evening, just to publicly announce that our previous president, Bruce Limbaugh, did turn in his resignation as council president on Friday, and as president pro tem, that put me in a position to sit in this seat behind him. And Bruce is taking some early retirement and perhaps a change of address, and he can speak for himself, but I believe he felt it best for him not to have to be worrying about city council president business the last year of his 4-year term. And so I'm going to step into that position for him, mindful wasn't elected to this and was put into this position, frankly, by the vote of the council to put me in a position as pro tem many years ago, which I'm always grateful for that confidence. And just to know that the task at hand will be just to keep the council in this city going forward for the next year. And the city is doing quite well on just so many different levels, and we're just going to do all we can. I will certainly do all I can with the help of my council mates to keep the council going in the right direction for the last year of this 4-year term and deal with the issues at hand and do all we can to put this council in a great position after this year term is up to pass it on to an even better council in 2020. And so with that, that's all we're going to have to discuss today. I don't know if council members have anything to say, or we can wait for the end of the meeting. But so with that, we'll begin with the other business at hand, of which we have a lot tonight. And with the transition, I'm going to begin with that first, because as a result of the council's previous confidence in putting me in as pro tem many years ago, now that position is open, and we do have to fill that with another council vote for another pro tem position. And so with this first item, I got about 4 or 5 items here to take up here, so you guys be patient with me. But first one will be the pro tem, and what I would like to do now is to entertain a motion for a nomination of pro tem to the city council.
Mr. President, I'd like to move to appoint Alex Wyatt as our president pro tem.
All right.
Second.
All right, I'll take that. I got a second from Mr. Thames. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you very much.
I will not be present for any more meetings going forward. So, no, thank you very much for your service, and
Thank you all for your trust.
look forward to working with you and the rest of the council. All right, next item. We also have next to Jennifer now a vacant seat, and we first, Mike, if I'm not correct, first we need to declare a vacancy, and so I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion to declare that Ward 5 seat 2 is vacant. I will entertain a motion and a second to that first.
So moved.
By Ms. Andrus, a second by Mr. Hickenbotham. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we do have a vacancy that's been declared. And with that vacancy, we are going to have to fill it. And so we're going to, without any objection, I'm going to open up that position for applications for the next 2 weeks. And we're going to, so what date will we be looking at that, Melody? So it'll be 21st. So we will open the Ward 5 council position open for applications for the next 2 weeks. And on the 21st, assuming we get some applications, which I assume we will, we'll start setting some interviews and scheduling some interviews for that position.
It'll just close at 4:30 because on the 21st.
Close it at 4:30?
4:30. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So without any objections, I will keep that open and close at 4:30 on the 21st. Without any objections, okay, that will occur. All right. Next item. I also served as the chairman of the Public Works Committee, and I've talked to several of the Public Works members, and because of the change, we'll have a vacancy as the Public Works chairman, and I'm going to entertain I would like to recommend Andy Gwaltney to step in to be the new chairman of the Public Works Committee. And I think I'm going to just, for a matter of formality, I will ask for a second of that. A second by Mr. Wyatt. And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so Mr. Gwaltney, congratulations to you. Next, we have also serve on the finance. And Walter, I'm so grateful for your work as finance chairman. You know that. And but we have a vacancy in Ward 5, and we have a Ward 5 candidate to step right into that position. Jennifer, I'm going to recommend you to serve in the new Finance Committee position. I will entertain a second to that. Second by Mr. Thames. I have to have a discussion. The city's going to be at financial risk now with Jennifer on the Finance Committee. So the other 4 members, I know will do a fine job. And you know, Jennifer, I'm kidding with you.
You know, the mayor knows I like to spend some money.
She is the best candidate for Ward 5.
But I had your back because I told him technically you have an MBA. You have an MBA, so you know.
She does have an MBA, and she is more than qualified to step into that position. And Jennifer, Grateful for that. All right. All in,
To review the invoices immediately?
no.
No, I'm in the middle of it now.
When her term comes up. All right.
Barry and Peter have both
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, and that is unanimous as well. And the last item of business on transition as the liaison to the school board, an important role. I will be stepping down from that, of course, and I am recommending Britt Thames to step in to be the new liaison to the school board.
Move for that.
And I will recommend that, and I will take Walter as a second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes by unanimous vote as well, and congratulations, Mr. Thames. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is enough of the transition business for tonight, I believe, and we'll begin with getting into our agenda.
I'm sorry. I
Yes,
have one
Ms.
thing,
Smith.
and this has nothing to do with the transition, but I do need to open up some Arts Council positions.
Yeah, we're about to talk
Oh,
about all those.
okay, we're gonna get to
We're about
that
to talk
too.
about all
Okay.
those. So,
Good deal.
all right, going into some board vacancies, we have Board of Adjustments and Appeals nominations. And remind me where we are in that?
We're going to carry that over. We have a couple applications, but Mr. Pugh's on vacation and.
Okay, we have
They
applications.
have certain requirements that they
That's
have to
right.
meet. So
All right,
we're.
so we have some pending applications.
It's closed, so we're just going,
It is-
just hold
we're-
on, just carry it
Gotcha.
over.
We're going to carry over, work on those nominations. Next, we have the Hydra and IDB interviews that need to be scheduled.
We have three applicants for the two
We have
positions.
3 applications for 2 vacancies, and instead of trying to schedule those tonight, I'm actually going to carry that over until the 21st to give us all time to catch our breath in our schedules, and we will look forward to scheduling those interviews on November 21st. Next item, Educational Building Authority nominations. We actually have 2 openings, and they are both at-large openings. We have, and the time period has run, and we actually have one Tom Deckel, who is on the Educational Building Authority, who is seeking to be reappointed. And I would entertain a motion for him to be reappointed to his at-large position on the Educational Building Authority. By Mr. McCluskey, second by Mrs. Smith. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So, Melody, if you will let Tom Deckel know he is reappointed, his reappointment has been approved.
Yes, sir.
We also have another at-large Educational Building Authority.
We just need to reopen that other one too.
Yeah, we're just going to reopen that one, and without objection, because we didn't receive any applications, I'm going to go for a long period of time without objection, keep it open until December 9th at 4:30. If any objection without that. If not, we will keep that one open till December 9th at 4:30, which finally gets us to Arts Council Ward 4 and an at-large opening. And Mrs. Smith, you had something to report on that.
We actually have someone who has wants to do their resume for the at-large position. She actually interviewed for another board, and she's interested in serving on this one. And we're still looking for a Ward 4, so let's just do 2 weeks and see if we can get somebody for Ward 4.
All right, fair enough. And so, Melody, if you're with us on that, we're gonna keep the Arts Council Ward 4 and the at-large opening. We're gonna leave that open for 2 more weeks.
So that'll be the 21st again.
21st, and we'll take it up where we are with, at that point in time with those 2 positions.
We still have a Ward 5 opening, but it's already still open until the 14th.
Right, and we do have an applicant for that position, correct? I know I saw a resume for that.
I didn't
Yeah,
write that down today
she's-
since it was
we
still
do.
open.
Yes, we do.
Okay, we will deal with that one on the 21st too, when we
Okay.
reconvene. Okay, now we're going to get into our agenda, and we do have several amendments, and let me run through these first of all. On committee referral, we actually have three amendments to both committee referral and new business. We're going to have 221019, which is a request for consideration to set a bid opening date for the uniform bid for the police department coming to us from the fire department coming to us from Chief Breslin. We're going to have that in committee referral going to finance, and we also have it on new business tonight to set a bid opening date for the uniform bid. And so That's going to be the change on 221019, committee referral and new business. Also, committee referral and new business is going to be 231019, which is a request to set a public hearing and referral to the Special Issues Committee for consideration of a variance to the sign ordinance at 2610 19th Street South. And we're also going to have 231019 and new business to set a public hearing for consideration of that variance to the sign ordinance at 2610 19th Street South. And we also have one more, 241019, which is going to be committee referral and new business. 241019 for committee referral is a request to set a public hearing and referral to the Special Issues Committee for consideration of a variance to the signed ordinance at 1280 Columbiana Road. And 241019 in new business is going to be a request to set a public hearing for consideration of a variance to the signed ordinance at 1280 Columbiana Road. And then we have a couple of other items. 251019 to committee referral agenda is a request to authorize the mayor to sign loan documents with Bryant Bank for capital vehicle purchases budgeted for the fiscal year of 2019-2020, coming to us from Robert Burgett, and we're going to refer that to Finance Committee. And then we have one other item, 261019, which is going to be a new business. Is going to be a request to remove Bruce Limbaugh as check signer on city bank accounts and to add Peter Wright and Melody Salter as co-signers to our bank accounts going forward. And we'll deal with that when we get to new business. All right, with those amendments, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended by Mr. Wolverton.
Second.
Second by Ms. Andrus. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so the agenda is approved as amended. Now we're going to get into the agenda, consent agenda first. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda by Mr. Wolverton. I have a motion. Second by Mr. Thames. Any discussion, any of the consent agenda items? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, consent agenda items stand approved. That will get us to our first action item under the old business agenda, 050919, which is a public hearing tonight for consideration to amend subsection 2C relating to posting of property with signs of Section B entitled Zoning Amendments of Article 9 entitled Administration and Review Procedures of Appendix A entitled Zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Homewood. Coming to us from our city attorney, Mike Kendrick, and I will begin with this issue with a report from P&D.
Yes, sir. P&D met at an earlier date and voted to send this out, I believe, without recommendation, pending the public hearing. What this is to amend our zoning ordinance so that every individual property need not be posted with our yellow signs when the city initiates a large-scale rezone, and Mr. Kendrick can go into further detail if necessary. This is in regards to the downtown zoning we're discussing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Thames. And with that, I will go ahead and open the public hearing and first begin with, are there any comments from the public regarding this item? Okay, seeing no comments from the public, I will go ahead and close the public hearing, and I will open it for comments from council, or I know we're going to have a first reading. Mike, I don't know if you want to go in the first reading or any further explanation.
I'd be glad to do whatever you like.
All right, any comments from the council on this? Otherwise, we'll begin with the first reading with Mike. And Mike will begin with first reading then.
It's an ordinance to amend Section 2C relating to posting of property within the zoning ordinance. Be ordained by the City Council as follows. Section 2C relating to posting of property with signs of Section B titled Zoning Amendments is amended to read as follows. The zoning administrator shall be responsible for posting property with signs that note the proposed district change and the time and place of the Planning Commission hearing. The zoning administrator shall post property at least 15 days in advance of the public hearing before the Planning Commission. The property shall remain posted until the public hearing is completed. The required signs shall be placed at reasonable intervals along public streets abutting the property subject to rezoning. However, the posting requirements set out in this section shall not be required for any city-initiated request to establish a new zoning district if the proposed new zoning district has been the subject of a public input session at which the proposed new zoning district was available for public discussion and comment by the general public prior to the planning commission public hearing. Section 2, all the provisions of the zoning ordinance remain in full force and effect. Section 3, if any part of provision declared to be unconstitutional or by a court of competent jurisdiction, all other parts remain in full force and effect. Section 4, the ordinance become effective immediately upon its adoption by the city council and approval by the mayor or is otherwise becoming law.
All right, thank you, Mike. I'll entertain a motion, first of all, for unanimous consent.
So moved.
By Mr. Thames. Second by Mr. McCluskey. And roll call vote, Melody.
Mr. Gwaltney?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thames?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Higginbotham? Mr. Wolverton?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Andress?
Yes.
And President Wright.
Yes, so that's a unanimous consent. And I'll entertain now a motion for action on the item.
That'd be ordinance 2759.
2759.
So moved. Second.
By Mr. Thames, second by Mr. McCluskey. All in favor? Oh, excuse me, roll call vote, please, Melody.
Was that McCluskey or Gwaltney?
I said McCluskey.
Oh, okay. It sounded like Mr. Gwaltney behind me.
It was, they were racing, but McCluskey had my ear.
Mr. Gwaltney?
Yes.
Mr. Thames?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Higginbotham?
Yes.
Mr. Wolverton?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Andress?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes, so that is a unanimous vote approving ordinance 2759. Next item, 240519, which is a public hearing set for October 21st at 6 p.m. for consideration to review or amend the West Homewood District zoning ordinance, coming to us from Mike Higginbotham and Andrew Wolverton. And we're going to carry this over for a public hearing until October 21st. 030919 is our next item, public hearing also set for October 21st for consideration of zoning setback changes, coming to us from Andy Gwaltney and Britt Thames, and we'll also carry that over for public hearing until October 21st. 260619 is a bid opening that was held on August 26, 2019 at 4:45 for an insurance agent for the city of Homewood, and this came to us from Councilor Alex Wyatt, and I'll begin first of all with a report from Finance. Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met September 30th and voted 5-0 to recommend American Fidelity for employee benefits and send another RFP for property and casualty and workers' comp. That bid opening to be set for November the 18th at 4:45. A deadline for submittals will be set at 4:30 that day. So 5-0, and thank you to the ad hoc insurance committee, led by our Mr. President Pro Tem, Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Before we vote on that, I was going to see if Dave Dunlap was here. Is he here? He is not here. Okay. Well, we had the pleasure and opportunity to meet him during the interviews and look forward to the rest of the council being able to meet him going forward. Okay, so that's going to be Resolution 19169. I'll enter, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that passes 10-0 as well, and that's Resolution 19-169. All right, next item, 060819, which is a request for consideration to discuss the city per diem issue, coming to us from Robert Burgett and our finance director, and we'll begin on this issue with a report from finance.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I might need Ms. Melody to help with this. We met and voted 5-0 to recommend repealing the previous resolution, but we also amended the daily amounts for in-state and out-of-state. I don't have those. No, is it 55 and 60?
No, this time we just recommended 60 for in and out of state, just a flat 60 for both, and they have to have receipts.
60, okay.
For both and have to
So
have
that
receipts.
was the motion of the 5-0 recommendation out of finance.
That was what came out of finance, right?
Yes, that did
okay.
come out of finance. I
All
just
right.
didn't have it in my notes.
No problem. All right, any further discussion or questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that's going to be Resolution 19-170.
Just a point of clarification, it says in the resolution, but it's a maximum of 60. If the actual expense is less than that with the receipts, it'll be up to 60 max.
Correct.
All right, so that passes 10-0. Thank you, Mr. Jones. 090919, request for consideration of tax abatement options. An issue coming to us from Robinson Morton and Walter Jones, and we'll begin on this issue with a report from Finance. Mr. Jones.
Okay, yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met, voted 3-2 to recommend accepting the proposal for abatement of sales and tax use only, not to exceed $115,000 on the construction materials and equipment, and only for purchases made with the city of Homewood. So we got 3-2 recommendation out of Finance.
Okay, so this came out of Finance and a vote of 3-2. I know I was one of the opponents. Yes, sir.
There's a limit on that?
Yeah, when,
Yeah, $115,000 is the limit.
That's not in the resolution, we need to change it.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of the cap.
Well, that's what we had discussed as the proposal. That was what if that's not your proffer, then we need to discuss it now.
all right, that.
I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
I think the cap's okay.
Okay, well, that's what
Okay.
came out of committee, and so that's what we have before the council, and that came out of committee on a vote of 3-2. Now, certainly we'll open it up for any further questions or discussions. I'll begin. I'm not going to belabor it. I made my position known at the committee meetings, as in not being in favor of this, but certainly respect and open for any further comments and/or action on the item.
Isn't that a motion out of finance?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a positive motion.
Yeah, we just have to have.
Okay,
the-
I'm sorry.
3-2.
Oh, my
It
mistake.
passed 3-2.
My mistake.
Yeah.
Passed 3-2, you're right.
Yeah.
Any further questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Aye.
Okay, can we take a roll call?
Yeah, better do a roll call vote.
Okay, yes, sir. Mr. Gwaltney? Mr. Thames?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Higginbotham?
No.
Mr. Wolverton?
No.
Mr. McCluskey?
No.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
No.
Mrs. Andress?
No.
And President Wright.
No.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 noes to 3, so.
7-3. So that item fails by a vote of 7-3. Next item will be 110919, which is a request for consideration to amend the fiscal year 2018-2019 budgets, coming to us from our Finance Director, Robert Burgett, and Melody Salter, our City Clerk. And we will begin with this budget amendment item, also from Finance, Mr. Jones.
This is unanimous, so you'll be happy to know. The Finance Committee met and voted 5-0 to recommend approval of this item.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any discussion or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that passes by a vote of 10-0, and that will be Resolution 19-171?
Yes.
Okay. Next item, 240919, request to consider transferring from general fund surplus an amount not to exceed $1 million to the Capital Projects Fund. This coming to us from Mayor McBrayer and Robert Burgett, our Finance Director, and we will begin with a report from Finance and Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The committee met and voted 5-0 to recommend approval of this item.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any further discussion or comment? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that stands approved, and that will be Resolution 19-172.
Yes, sir.
Next item, 370519, request for consideration of landscape tree ordinance, coming to us from Planning Commission and Mr. Gwaltney and Mr. Thames, and we will begin on this issue with a report from P&D. Mr. Thames.
Yes, sir. Committee met and voted 5-0 to refer this to the Planning Commission, given the amount of changes that have occurred since it was initially referred to the council by the Planning Commission.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item will be transferred to Planning Commission for further consideration. 250819, request for consideration to set a new pole for a small cellular site at 1620 Valley Avenue, coming to us from Tim Hawkins and Mr. Cobb with BEZ. And we will begin with this with a report from Special Issues and Mrs. Smith.
Yes, committee met last week and heard from some representatives of AT&T and voted 4-0 to 1, with Mr. Gwaltney abstaining, to recommend approving replacement of a previously put there wood pole with a new metal pole and a light. Motion made by Mr. Higginbotham and seconded by Mr. McCluskey. And like I said, the vote was 4-0 to 1.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Any discussion?
I do want to I want to ask a question. One thing that I've missed, and I'm the one that brought the light up, and I missed in the illustration that it was sitting next to an existing light pole, so I do want to bring that back up for discussion if anyone wants to.
I personally don't think the light's necessary because it is right next to a Cobra light. But I do want to make sure that they use the metal pole with the wiring
Inside.
encased within the pole like they showed at committee.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll rely on our BEZ department to ensure that that is enforced.
And so I guess we need to communicate with them that the light isn't required. Are they here? I don't think so. No.
Okay, well, so,
Oh, well, it's not a public hearing.
no, it's not. So let's just figure out what we got here. So this is, approval is conditioned on, if I understand it correctly.
Approval was conditioned on them having a light, but it sounds like a light's not necessary because it's next to an already existing Cobra light.
All right, so would that not be a change, Mr. Kendrick?
The plans they submitted,
They didn't include a light to begin with. That's right.
They added that at the end.
Yes, that was kind of their proffer when we requested it.
well, let me say this, one page out of about 12 didn't have a light, there is one light on the page.
Okay. So we would just need to communicate with them that
Yes,
the
ma'am,
light,
I think if it's different than your community recommendation, just have a motion and second to approve.
the amended, okay.
Then I'll entertain a motion to approve this item
Without the
without a light.
Okay,
So
we'll,
moved.
yeah, second.
By Mr. Higginbotham, second by Mrs. Smith. Any further discussion? Mr. Thames?
Well, I know this isn't a public hearing, but we do have a resident that it looks like has some questions. I'm happy to speak to her after the meeting if you prefer that, but.
You know, I'm okay. Do you have a comment regarding the light?
I have a comment regarding the whole poll.
Well, yes, this is not a public hearing for that. We will have to have that conversation afterwards. With regard to the change, I certainly would be open to it, but the committee has already considered that. So, Mr. Thames, we'll talk with you after the meeting, but with regard to...
And just to be clear, so the resident knows that they have a franchise and have the right to put these poles in the right of way. We
Can't stop them.
They really can't stop them. It was their proffer to put in a metal pole. That was actually not even required. I'll have to speak to you after the fact.
In other words, they were putting a less desirable pole in place, and they made a proffer to put something more desirable, at least to several of the council members. Okay. All right. Any further questions or discussion from the council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that item will pass with...
I would like to abstain.
And, excuse me, one abstention from Mr. Gwaltney. So that'll pass as amended without the light, and that will be Resolution 19-173. Next item, 130919, which is a request for consideration to construct a parking pad in the city right-of-way at 417 Columbiana Road, coming to us from Brittany Conger and Wyatt Pugh and Greg Cobb with the BEZ. And we will begin on this item with a report from Special Issues.
Yes, committee met last week, voted 5-0 to recommend approving the parking pad. Motion made by Mr. McCluskey and seconded by Ms. Andrus.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Any discussion, comment? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that'll stand approved as Resolution 19-174. Next item, 140919, request for consideration for a large mailbox base in the city right-of-way at 514 Rumson Road, proposed by Will Smith and Wyatt Pugh and Greg Cobb with the BEZ. And another report from Special Issues, Mrs. Smith.
Yes, committee met and voted 5-0 to recommend approving the mailbox base pending all the proper indemnification agreements. Motion made by Ms. Andrus and seconded by Councilor McCluskey, so 5-0 coming out of Special Issues.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Any further comment, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that's going to pass 9-1 with one nay vote from Mr. Wolverton. And that'll be Resolution 19-175. All right, committee referral agenda. We've already gone through the amendments. I will entertain a motion to approve the committee referral agenda as amended. By Mr. Hickenbotham. Second by Mrs. Smith. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so the committee referral agenda as amended as approved. Gets us to other new business, 09-10-19, which is a request to set a public hearing for consideration of a variance to the Homewood fence ordinance to allow a front yard fence at 252 Allen Avenue. Coming to us from Lauren Adair and Wyatt Pugh and Greg Cobb with the BEZ. We're going to set that public hearing for October 21st. Next, 10-10-19, request to set a public hearing for reconsideration of a variance also to the Homewood fence ordinance to allow a front yard fence at 1604 Roseland Drive, proposed by Caroline Hammonds and Councilor Barry Smith. And that, is that item in Special Issues Committee?
No, it was in Special Issues, and
It's already been approved. Got it, okay. So we're going to set that public hearing on that item that's already been dealt with at Special Issues also for October 21st at 6 o'clock.
Oh, wait, hold on. Is that what yes, because we're having committees on the 14th.
Correct.
Is that right?
Did you say she couldn't be here on the 14th?
I think I did. I think that's the day she couldn't be here, so I think we were going to have it in Special Issues, but probably not until November, so we probably don't.
You want to
need
make,
to
you
set
want
that.
to make the public hearing on the 11th?
Yes.
All right, so all right, thank you. So with item 10-10-19, without objection, we'll change that public hearing from October 21st to November 4th, without objection. Next item is a request to set a public hearing for consideration to rezone property at 105 Vulcan Road from C3 Community Shopping to Mixed Use District. The applicant being Brad Castro, who is the owner, and J.P. Burham, for the purpose to permit the joint use of an existing building as a church and office for both nonprofit and for-profit organizations. This came through the Planning Commission with a unanimous vote of 6-0 for favorable recommendation of the rezone. And we're going to set that public hearing without objection for November 4th at 6 p.m. as well. Next item, 12-10-19, request to set a public hearing for consideration of downtown district zoning. Coming to us from Mike Kendrick, our city attorney. We're going to set that public hearing for, without objection, for December 9th at 6 p.m. as well. Next, 13-10-19, request for consideration of declaring the following totaled vehicles surplus: a 2015 Chevrolet Tahoe, to declare this surplus so we can get this over to the insurance company and get some money for it. It's coming to us from Gordon Janes and our fleet maintenance, and this will require a first reading. Mr. Kendrick.
Yes, sir. It's an ordinance to declare certain municipal property surplus hereby declared in status following described property. 2015 Chevrolet Tahoe being number the last four, 9463. Section 2, the property It should be transferred to travelers insurance as part of a settlement, property settlement for damaged vehicle. Section 3, the mayor and clerk authorize the executing documents necessary to transfer the surplus property to travelers.
Thank you, sir. I will entertain a motion for unanimous consent. By Mr. Higginbotham, second by Mr. Wolverton. Roll call vote, Melody.
Mr. Waltney?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thames? Mr. Higginbotham?
Yes.
Mr. Wolverton?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Andress?
Yes.
And President Wright.
Yes, and unanimous consent by a vote of 10-0 is approved, and I will entertain now a motion for action on the item.
So moved.
By Mr. Gwaltney,
Second.
by Mrs. Smith. Any discussion? And roll call vote, Melody.
Mr. Gwaltney?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thames?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Higginbotham?
Yes.
Mr. Wolverton?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wyatt?
Yes.
Mrs. Andress?
Yes.
And President Wright.
Yes, so that's ordinance 2760 is unanimously approved. Next item is 151019, which is a request to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with the Homewood Chamber of Commerce to fund their fiscal year 2019-2020 budget appropriation in the city budget, coming to us from Melody Salter, our city clerk. And I will entertain a motion for approval on this item.
So moved.
By Mr. Higginbotham, second by Mr. McCluskey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that stands approved resolution. Good gracious, I've lost track here. Nope.
We took 1410 out of order.
Let's see.
I think it's 176, I think.
19176, thank you. 19-176.
76.
I'm sorry, 176?
Yes, sir.
Stands approved unanimously. And all right, next item, 161019, which is a request to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with the Exceptional Foundation and fund their fiscal year 2019-2020 budget appropriation in the city budget, coming to us from Tricia Kirk and Melody Salter, our city clerk. I'll entertain a motion for approval by Mr. McCluskey, second by Mr. Thames. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That item stands approved unanimously as well.
Who was the
That'll
first and
be-
second on that one? I missed it.
Mr. Thames?
And who was the second?
Mr. McCluskey.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry about that. That'll be Resolution 19-177. Next item, 171019, which is a request to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with the Birmingham Zoo and fund their fiscal year 2019-2020 budget appropriation in the city budget. Coming from Melody Salter, our city clerk again, and I will entertain a motion and second for this.
Motion.
By Mr. Wolverton and second by Mrs. Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 10-0. Resolution 19-178. Then we come to 181019, which is a request to authorize the mayor to sign a contract with the Operation School Bell to fund their fiscal year 2019-2020 budget appropriation in the city budget, coming to us from J.J. Bischoff and Melody Salter, our city clerk. And I believe we are not ready to take action on this. We're going to carry this over until October 21st. We don't have that contract yet, so no action on that one yet. 191019 is our next item, which is a request for consideration to set a public hearing to consider declaring the property located at 105 Hermosa Drive a public nuisance due to a violation of the ordinances, our 1910 and 1750 excessive growth ordinances. That coming to us from Scott Cook and Code Enforcement of the Police Department. We're going to set that public hearing for October 21st. Next, we have 2010-19, which is a request for consideration to set a public hearing to consider declaring the property located at 107. Make sure I got this different one. It is 107 Hermosa Drive, a public nuisance due to violation of ordinances 1910 and 1750 excessive growth, also coming to us from Scott Cook. And we're going to set that public hearing also for October 21st. 211019, request for consideration of approval of vouchers for the period of September 24th, 2019 through October 7th, 2019, to the Honorable Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I went through the invoices, and I'm going to try to provide knowledge every time we do this. So I approved a geritator. I didn't know what that was, but Mr. Burgett found out. It's a part for our street sweeper that's been down for a week, but now we have a new geritator. So I approve that, so we can have the streets clean. So anyway, I would move to approve the invoices.
All right, got a motion for approval from Mr. Jones and a second from Mr. Higginbotham. Any further discussion on that? I hope not. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so the vouchers through October 7th stand as approved. Next item, 221019, which is a request for consideration to set a bid opening date for the uniform bid for our fire department. We're going to set that bid opening for December 2nd, 2019 at 4:30 for the bids to be presented, with the opening occurring at 4:45. Next, we'll have 231019, which is a request to set a public hearing and referral to the Special Issues Committee for consideration of a variance to the sign ordinance at 2610 19th Street, coming to us from Megan Ellis and Greg Cobb with the BEZ. We're going to have a public hearing on that for October 21st. You guys get ready for October 21st.
I think we're all going to be out of town.
241019, which is also a request to set a public hearing for consideration of a variance to the sign ordinance at 1280 Columbiana Road, coming to us from Steve Kirkpatrick and Greg Cobb with the BEZ. We're going to set that public hearing also for the 21st of October. And I believe this is our last item, is 261019, which is a request to remove Bruce Limbaugh as check signer on our city bank accounts, specifically with Bryant Bank, Iberia Bank, and Raymond James, and to add Peter Wright and Melody Salter as co-signers on those accounts. I will entertain a motion and second for that. Motion by Mr. McCluskey, second by Mrs. Smith. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that's going to be, whew,
There are actually going to be three
resolution.
three resolutions up. So we have Bryant, Iberia, and Raymond James.
All right, let me get my, what resolution is that, Mike? 19180?
180, 181, and 82.
There's three resolutions.
Are McCluskey and Smith okay with first and second, all of them?
Okay. All right, 19180, 19181, and 19182.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Melody. All right. So that'll bring us to the end of our agenda for tonight. And Mayor, I will turn it over to you for comments.
Chairman Jones, is that anything like an agitator in a washing machine? Good. Well, thank y'all for approving that then. Just wanted to say congratulations, Mr. President. Now you'll do a great job. You've served our community in a lot of different capacities for a long time. You've always done great and excelled at whatever role you've been in, and I know the presidency won't be any different. We'll look forward to your leadership on the council, and then I would just like to say thank you to Bruce. I guess years ago, JJ and I appointed him to the school board, and he's given a lot of time and service and self to this community. So thanks to Bruce and his family, and certainly want to wish him well in his new endeavors. And then congratulations to all the, there's a lot of shifting going on. Please don't make me go into all the changes. But I will say, Ms. Andrews, as a follow-up to Mr. President Wright about you going on finance. Now, I went to the cardiologist today. I got a clean bill of health. I don't have to go back for 6 months, and I would appreciate you not making me go before then. But I know y'all, listen, you know, one thing I admire about all of you is that whether you're on a a specific committee or not, you're all really engaged in all the committees, which I think says a lot about you, and I think that's why this will be a very simple and easy transition for our council. So thanks to all of you for that. And then I'll also just real quickly end with saying I did see on social media, it looks like Matt Hall, one of our firefighters, y'all all know Matt, looks like his daughter's having some health issues and is in the hospital. So if we could just all remember Matt and his family in our prayers. Mr. President, thank you.
Mayor, thank you. Mr. Gwaltney?
I won't belabor the point, but congratulations on taking the chair, Mr. Councilor President Wright, to get it right. And also, Alex, let's don't forget about you. Councilor Wyatt, congratulations. I'm looking forward to you in your role as well. I wanted to just say a couple of things. JJ, I wanted to thank you for your help in some Rosedale items recently. I sent JJ a couple of concerns that needed to be addressed. I'm pretty sure he went out and took care of them himself. Because like within, maybe a day, he emailed me back and everything's buttoned up, taken care of. So thank you very much for taking and putting some attention on that and getting it taken care of for our neighbors over there. I also wanted to mention that Britt and I will be hosting our Rosedale Day of Service this coming Saturday at 9 a.m. We're going to meet in Spring Park, and then we're going to go out in the community and do some yard work, some other minor maintenance tasks. I would invite everybody to come out and join us. It'll be a good time. We're going to meet at 9 a.m. and then we'll have a little time of fellowship afterwards and eat lunch with our neighbors and just have a good time. And finally, thank you for your confidence in me and the Public Works Chair. I will be sure and uphold your confidence.
Well, thank you, sir, and congratulations. And guess what? We get to flip the tables.
Really? No, he's the first. Seriously, it's
One item on the agenda that needs to be carried over.
Okay. This, we will. It was 17 seconds. So the suspense will build until the next meeting.